Hello Void and all who inhabit it, it's me, and this is basically an info dump. Earlier this month, the trailer for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air remake dropped, and it's interesting. Choices were made, opinions will be formed. Pivoting from a multi-cam comedy to a single-cam drama, complete with heavy desaturation and wide-sweeping drone shots, the 2022 Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is the latest in a growing list of reboots and remakes that are specifically grittier. At some point in the past 5 years, you've probably wondered why this keeps happening. The easiest and most obvious answer is money. Nostalgia sells. More specifically, reboots and remakes ensure to producers and networks a pre-existing fan base for a show. There's less question around if people will watch a thing you already know they loved. Same goes for sequels and spin-offs. With this comes merchandise as another potential revenue stream. But listener, I'm here to inform you, perhaps, of another layer to this blooming onion. Long ago, when we had to walk 15 miles uphill both ways in the snow to go to school, people had fewer options for what kind of TV shows they could watch. Broadcast networks, plus some local public channels, were the only options, and their intention from the 1940s to the 1970s was to showcase the least objectionable programming in order to get the most amount of eyes on TV. And it worked for a long while. Then cable was created. Multiple things resulted in the creation of cable TV, but the point is there were now multiple channels offering multiple types of shows. From this came narrowcasting, or programming targeted at specific audiences, which birthed channels like MTV and Lifetime. Great for viewers, bad for broadcast networks who now had more competition. Broadcast tried to keep eyes with the technique known as televisuality, as coined by John Caldwell. When my professor was explaining this technique to us, she used Miami Vice and Pee-wee's Playhouse as two ends of the spectrum. You have the cinematic as close to cable as you can get experience, and on the other end, you have what if we made a show for preschoolers on PCP? The goal is to change the look and feel of television in order to keep audiences attracted. Beyond the absurdity of Pee-wee's Playhouse, it also highlights a shift in broadcast to focus on demographic populations that were ignored by cable. In the late 80s and early 90s, this included kids, older viewers, and Black audiences. If you've ever wondered why there was a huge boom in Black sitcoms that just as abruptly ended, this is part of that reason. Sidebar: the CW, currently on sale for a bag of hot Cheetos and 2 hair ties, was once upon a time known as UPN, the unofficial Blackest network on basic television. UPN later became the WB, but content stayed similar until teens cropped up as the next most profitable demographic. There's then a dramatic shift in programming before the network eventually became the CW we know today. Once broadcasting networks had seemingly found a lane that would allow them to continue to coast in targeting neglected demographics, the next big threat to viewership was created: streaming services. At first, Netflix and later Hulu had reign over all, but as more audience members began to switch to online viewing, every basic network channel eventually created its own streaming service. Initially, streaming services were mostly movies and syndicated television, but with everyone pulling their content off of Netflix and Hulu, a couple of things started to happen. For one, we start to see network-based streamers uploading episodes of currently broadcasted shows in real time or exclusively online. And we start to see the creation of streaming service original series that rival cable and broadcast in terms of quality and content. What's really interesting about that second batch of shows is that they start getting nominated for awards, and then they start winning them. A lot. This wave of a new form of television sweeping award shows has also happened before. Remember televisuality from a few moments ago? At the same time narrowcast programming was picking up speed, the other end of the spectrum, the as close to cable end, was blossoming as sitcoms were starting to get stale, and the rise of cable equated to the creation of prestige TV. Typically dramas, these shows were seen as stronger, more compelling stories, and were usually found in cable networks that could be a bit more gritty. Not being bound to a need to appeal to a wide audience or maintain relationships with advertisers, cable TV could explore themes very much deemed objectionable. Very soon, these shows were being nominated for and winning major awards. Broadcast networks were able to lean into sitcoms and collect awards in comedy, but the distinction of drama awards rested in the hands of those prestige cable networks and shows. Now, a lot of prestige TV has shifted from cable to streamers. While many of the platforms connected to the same networks that started to sweep in the early aughts are producing these newer high-quality shows, streamer-exclusive shows being nominated for awards also presents new potential to traditional broadcast networks. The same can be said for solely online platforms, much to the chagrin of several old white men. With a new way to narrowcast, fewer expectations to cater to a wide audience because of a shifted consumer landscape, and a treasure trove of beloved IP, broadcast networks have ample space and means to try their hand at prestige TV. In other words, that once beloved family comedy can now be morphed into a dark teen drama released solely online. So broadcast networks have the means to make prestige television, but why would they? For one, if a series is praised, people will watch it. Every now and then someone will tweet that either Prime or Apple TV is the streamer actually making the diverse content that people always say that they want, but viewers aren't supporting it. You know, something along the lines of,
there's a really dope show out, but because it's on this streamer, y'all won't watch it.
And without getting into the capitalist conundrum of, why do I need to pay for 15 different services to watch this content? If you aren't on a platform, you very well likely won't know about the shows on it. Plus, we are oversaturated with ads, so traditional means of gaining new viewers aren't always successful. But awards shows are not only a source of publicity, but an affirmation that a series is worth watching. A great example with an online-only streamer is Ted Lasso on Apple TV. The show did numbers during last year's award season, and that attention pulled in a lot of new viewers who had never heard of the show. Secondly, while part of building up an identity as a prestige network or streamer is in the content, the other portion is in the creators. This is purely speculation that I'm sure someone has made before, but I think broadcast networks, through their streamers, are trying to rebuild credibility as a means to bring in stronger creatives. At the beginning of the battle with cable, broadcast networks were hiring well-known film directors to direct or produce TV shows. The idea was viewers would want to watch CBS because Steven Spielberg was producing this police procedural or whatever. While networks could use well-known names to draw in viewers, there had to be something appealing from the production side as well. For example, when Shonda Rhimes and later Kenya Barris signed on with ABC, it was because the network was allowing them to make stories that other networks weren't. The risk paid off, and the benefit for the network was a huge audience returning every week to watch those shows specifically. While you can't necessarily recreate Shondaland Thursdays on a streamer, you can construct a catalog of creators who feel supported in their endeavors and in turn make content that attracts a steady viewership. One of the strongest ways to establish your platform as a hub for dynamic, compelling stories, thus attracting viewers and creators alike, is to win a major award, which requires you to first produce a series that can be considered, aka a prestige drama. Now, why does that prestige drama have to be a reboot or a remake? Beyond the ease of already owning the rights to a story, consider how many of these shows garner more attention simply by essence of being a remake. All views count, even hate watches. I think too an aspect of taking something that was initially light and making it gritty is an effort to show that the story has fundamentally been elevated. Without getting into the details of the story, the shift in tone alone is a signal that this is a show meant to be taken seriously. Whenever there's a repeated show structure popping up, the obvious and consistently correct answer as to why is always money. But the hoops networks and studios are jumping through in order to get more eyeballs, more clicks, more hours spent on their platform can often have a few more bells and whistles attached. If you made it to the end, thank you for making it to the end. This was a quick little info dump, I hope you didn't hear my stomach growl, that I thought might be helpful to folks as this gravy train of dark dramas doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. Anyway, I am immensely excited for the next video that is going to be much longer and probably, produce some vitriol, but I'm so excited. The brain blast that I had kept me up for 2 days straight. So going to pump this one out quickly and move on to the next one. And I almost ended the video incorrectly. Until next time, stay safe. I'll catch you in the next echo chamber.